Yay Media Group.
As an actor, getting to collaborate on the stories and development of the character,
Right.
that's very cool.
I mean, I have to tell you, I'm sure there are writers that I worked with after my so-called life who were like, who the hell is he? Who the hell does he think he is?
You're like, I have some ideas.
Hey dude, I think the 90s are calling.
Hello and welcome back to Hey Dude, the 90s Called podcast. I am David Lasher and I'm here with my partner in nostalgia, Christine Taylor.
Hi, David. Hi, everybody.
What's up, partner? What's up?
Hi, partner. How are you? We've had a few weeks off. We don't even really call it a hiatus. We just sort of we do our episodes when our guests are available. So sometimes we have a couple weeks off. Sometimes we're seeing each other every week. But I haven't seen you in a few weeks.
I know. I miss you.
And I missed you in LA. I was in LA for a week and we were going to try to do an episode in person, but our guests who we are recording, the dates didn't work. So I didn't get to see you. And, but I had a great time in LA. I was visiting our daughter who's out there working right now.
I know. That's so exciting.
It's very exciting.
How is she? Yes. How is working with Lisa? And isn't Dan is on that show, right?
Exactly. So Ella, there's a new season of The Comeback, which is a show Lisa Kudrow started in 2005.
So
that was the
funny.
first season. Then 10 years later, they did a second season in 2015, and now this is the final season. So every 10 years, they've basically been doing it, I don't think on purpose. But yeah, so Lisa Kudrow and Dan Bukatinsky, who we had on, who's one of my dear friends, Ella made a self-tape for this show while she was doing her play this summer. And on the day, the day the show was closing, they called and said, you got the part. And Michael Patrick King, who directed her in And Just Like That, is the director and co-writer of the show with Lisa. And so I got to go visit everybody and it was so fun. I got to be the set mom. It was so crazy.
Oh my God. First time ever, right?
Just kind of like visiting my kid on set. And Lisa, Lisa, who, of course I did Friends with, and I did a little independent movie with her like 20 years ago. It just, every time I see her, she is just pure joy. And talk about like Ella getting an experience of like watching literally a master class in comedy with Lisa.
Oh, yeah.
She gets to, she just gets to be in Lisa's orbit, or Valerie Cherish is the character. So she's, anyway, it was really cool to do that. And, but the next time I'm out there, we're going to have to try to do an episode together so I can be on your couch and I can maybe hold the pillow, because we can't, we'll have to make sure
Yes, you do an episode, we'll have dinner, we'll catch up in person.
Yes, for sure. But we have a great guest today who, when he comes in, we'll talk about how someone I just met but have known forever, as many of you listeners, I'm sure, know his work, Wilson Cruz, who, broke out in the hit series My So-Called Life in the 90s, went
Amazing.
on to star in one of my favorite musicals, Rent, as Angel, and many, many other things, which I can't wait to talk to him about. So let's welcome in Wilson Cruz. I just met, literally, but I feel like I've known you. And this is what happens with a lot of our guests, because they're people that we have watched and known for years and years and years, but are sometimes just meeting. And David, Wilson and I did a play reading a couple weeks ago.
A light comedy.
It was not a light comedy.
Wait, a play reading?
Yes.
Like what? What was it?
Wilson, tell David and our listeners a little bit about what it was. And
So dear listener, it's a play reading. Our friend Stan Zimmerman wrote it. It's called Right Before I Go, and then it's inspired by the loss that Stan and his friends experienced after one of their friends took their own lives. And so the show is kind of centered around Stan, who's usually in the show, although we had Seth Rudetsky playing Stan. But in the show, Stan is telling the story about losing his friend, and interspersed throughout the story, because the suicide inspired him to start looking at suicide notes. The suicide notes are then, these famous suicide notes, or real suicide notes, are interspersed throughout the storytelling. And so there are 4 actors on stage who are reading those letters.
Yes.
And they're actual,
Yes.
real
Verbatim.
letters that people wrote. Oh
Verbatim.
my God, that's powerful.
Yes. Many from well-known, artists and authors and, people that the world would know, but then others were letters written by children and teenagers. And it was a heavy night. Let's just say that. A heavy couple of nights.
And just so the audience knows, this wasn't like, this wasn't us looking for a great night on the town. It was in honor of Suicide Prevention Month.
Exactly.
Oh, good.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's really
and Stan,
powerful. And it's also could be, there are some of it that's really funny. And it's just, it's a way of
Stan is a
having a
comedy
conversation about suicide and its effects on people. And it gives
And the
people an
grief.
opportunity to tell their stories.
Yeah.
Where does this play live going forward? Is it like different casts come in and re-perform it again and again?
Yes. I
That's
did it
right.
online during COVID. And then they had like 2 other casts before we closed
in New York City. Yeah, this was the first time it had ever been in New York City. They take it to schools as well. They do a sort of, watered down version, I think, for students. And so it was a very powerful thing to be a part of. And the 5 of us, because it was Seth who stood in for Stan. Stan Zimmerman, by the way, wrote the Brady Bunch movies.
Right.
He's a comedy. He wrote on the Gilmore Girls. He wrote on Golden Girls. He's a sitcom
what a change
writer.
of direction.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, wow.
He's amazing, which is why he's a great person for this, because he can bring in some real elements of comedy. And so it's not completely overwhelming. You're not, No, like,
there's some relief. There's some moments for sure.
There's hope.
There is, it is hopeful. And then the night of theater ends with a mental health expert coming onto the stage and opening up the audience to questions or comments or thoughts, or it's really to just start a dialogue about a subject that is still, in the world we're living in today with all of the mental health issues and everything going on, it's still a very taboo subject, which is very disheartening.
And a conversation we should probably be having right now. You know what I mean?
Anyway.
Because it's probably done in a very lonely, isolated way, right? But like, I don't want to jump ahead, but I know you were in that series 13 Reasons Why. And that was the first time I remember having to explain to my youngest daughter even what the topic was. It was like forced upon us. And they were watching the show without my even knowing it or knowing what it was about.
Right. That's fun.
You know what I mean? Like,
you're like,
all the kids.
Interesting.
Yeah, all the kids are obsessed with this show, and then all of a sudden the parents are like, "Oh my God, this is what it's about." All right, well, let's have this conversation.
Yeah, I remember
Exactly right.
Because when the first season came out, I was only in the small part of the first season. I was in all of the second season. But when the first season came out, that was a huge controversy, and what the responsibility of the streamer and of the production was to its audience in giving the conversation. And so they stepped up, but they stepped up even more in the second season. There was an actual production that I was a part of. Like, they took it up a notch. And so there was a real effort to supply parents and schools with resources that came directly from the show.
Yeah, that was powerful.
And you know what?
show.
Just to stay on this really uplifting topic.
Yes, it's a great way to kick it off because it can only get lighter from here, folks.
Well,
so just stick with us.
This is the last thing I'm going to say about suicide. The reason I just want to apologize that I'm wearing a hat and that I look unshaved. It's because I'm, guess what? Doing another project about suicide.
No.
Is this the film you told me about that you're working on?
Yeah, and I started
yesterday. You didn't
yesterday.
tell me that was about. Oh my gosh!
I started yesterday, and so I don't actually start working for a couple weeks. So I have, as you know, Christine, you know something about like the growing and the losing of hair, perhaps.
No, I know nothing about it.
So I have to grow my hair out, and so this is like this is ridiculous. And this.
So you're in an interim. So it's a cap until.
I'm in a moment of like, I don't want to deal with it.
Right. You look great. I would never.
Yeah, the hat's
you look
cool,
amazing.
man.
I know. And the guns. Let's talk about the guns. I mean, that's what I had to say to you. With the first moment that I laid eyes on you, I was like, okay, what do we have going on here?
But this is all that's left of them. Like, I'm 52 now. Like, I'm not allowed to do arms anymore because I have an injury. And so now this is what it's going to be.
Well, it's working. It's working.
Thank you. I'm going to say
David,
thank you and shut up.
Yes, exactly. That's what I've learned to do is to just say thank you. Okay.
Wait, can we talk about theater though? I mean, because I'm sure I might have seen you in Rent, and I want to just hear about the beginning in Brooklyn and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh, me. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was born in Brooklyn. In Greenpoint. I was born to two 19-year-old Puerto Rican kids.
Wow.
So we raised each other. That's really how it felt from the beginning. Because I think I felt really, really early on. I was kind of like, oh, they're kind of lost too. Okay, cool. All right, let's go.
But
usually it takes
for you to feel that early on, to know that
Right.
that takes years of therapy. That's
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it was pretty obvious. But they were great. And so we ended up moving to Michigan, where my youngest brother was born. And then from Michigan, because we couldn't deal with the snow.
Oh gosh.
We moved to California because my aunt lived out there. And so I was out there by the time I was in my preteens, and I stayed there, and that's where it all kind of just took off. When I was 19. So when I was 19, I got my first big gig, and that was My So-Called Life. And
oh my gosh. So that I didn't realize that you hadn't, I sort of fancied you a full-fledged theater kid, like doing it all, performing, and then Yes.
I was a theater kid.
Yes.
I was a theater band choir kid. Like I was that kid.
Yes.
But I really took advantage of the public school system. We were poor. So there was no like dance classes or, private tutoring on the sax or whatever. It was like, public school, arts education, and then trying to find extracurricular activities that helped me do what I love. I knew pretty early again what I wanted to do. And so by the time I was 16, I got I took like a commercial acting class and got like an agent out of that. And then I got my first real job when I was 18, right out of high school. And then My So-Called Life came at 19.
Wow.
So that's it in a nutshell.
Well,
what
that's
a first job.
I mean, we have to talk about that. When you auditioned for that, when you read the pilot script, was it it was just a pilot, I assume, right? At the time?
Yeah.
Or what? Yes. So
I was in a performance group called the Young Americans. Do you remember the Young Americans? They were kind of like Up with People, but the Young Americans was older. Anyway, so I was in this group, it's a performance group, and there was another young lady in it. Her name was Michelle Bigley, and Michelle Bigley's parents were agents.
Oh, gotcha.
And so they came to one of our shows and they took me on as a client, and literally that pilot season, they sent the script and they were like, you might like this. And so I read it and I was like, oh, this person, what's her name? Winnie Holzman. She must have been following me around high school.
This is me. I mean, did you just read it and just say this? I have to play this part.
No, I said, oh shit, I'm going to be on TV.
I mean, did you just read it and just say this? I have to play this part.
No, I said, oh shit, I'm going to be on TV.
Oh, wow. Stop. You knew it was yours.
You knew.
I'm not going to say that I knew it was mine, but I knew when I walked into the first audition and all the other boys who were there were wearing polos and khakis.
Oh, boy.
What were you wearing?
I had blood red Levi's jeans.
Oh, yeah.
Black Doc Martens with the yellow laces and a button down rainbow striped shirt with my hair up, you know, like the character did, with the little scoop towards the butt, you know, towards my eye. And I had mascara on and I had earrings on, and I knew who the hell he was. And so I think at that point I was like, if these people know what they're doing, and based on the script, I felt like they did, I have a good shot at this. And I don't know, I did feel something, a voice there. I did feel hear a voice say, you know, this could be it for you. Like, this could be a big thing for you.
Wow. That gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
To know.
Amazing.
But, and I only say that because it sounds crazy. I know it sounds crazy. But then you hear Winnie Holzman tell the story about when I walked in the door.
And she felt the same?
She said, that was the person I saw in my head when I wrote it.
Oh my God.
My gosh.
That's amazing. Like, you know, from both perspectives, you met each other's vision.
Yeah. So, it was a life-altering experience. It's hard to talk about without crying because it feels, especially in this moment, impossible.
Just for any of our listeners who don't know the show, your character was sort of a groundbreaking in that. Was it the first gay teenage character on network TV?
He was the first gay teenage character on primetime TV.
Yeah, right.
Primetime network TV. That was a series regular,
right?
Because we had guest stars, or they were like special TV movies of the week or something like that.
A very special episode,
right? Very special episode. That this was the first time that there was a teen character who was part of the fabric of the show, right? In America. Anyway, and so Winnie was incredibly generous and incredibly safe, and we kind of collaborated a bit, right? I told her a lot about my life, and she used what parts worked for her, and sometimes she came to things that she didn't even know about without me even telling her. So it was a very magical experience. Actually spoiled me for everything else, to be honest with you.
Well,
I bet.
As an actor, getting to collaborate on the stories and development of the character, that's very cool.
I mean, I have to tell you, I'm sure there are writers that I worked with after my so-called life who were like, who the hell is he? Who the hell does he think he is?
You're like, I have some ideas.
No, totally. I would never, I would literally, like, I was 22 years old. I'm like, he would never say that. I'd go to the writer and be like, he would never say that. Can I say something else? And just like unassumingly, just unexpectedly, like, could you imagine? I would.
No.
So, well, but here's what happens because of that is that, the fact of the matter is that there weren't a lot of, queer characters on television in general. And so there was an attempt to have more characters on television like this. But there weren't any writers who were writing them. We weren't in the writer's room. At least we weren't out in them. So I would get these parts, where I would take these parts knowing that they were imperfect, because they were. That is so weird. But I knew I would take them because I was like, oh, I can help them. I could fix it. I can make this better. And I would find ways, to say like, hey, what about this? And most of the time they'd be like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, or, and it worked out. And so I did all of these guest stars from the 90s to the 2010s,
Yes.
Almost 2018, where I would get hired. And I think a lot of those writers knew they were hiring someone who's going to work with them on this stuff. Because people talk.
Yeah.
Is what I found out, through the grapevine, right? Like directors call directors, hey, I'm about to hire this actor. What do you think about him?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Wilson, yeah, he's cool. By the way, he's going to want to change stuff.
But I have to say, right after we met, and this is how the crazy universe works, I was, we bonded like so over the course of 2 days when you're doing material like that and you're just spending 4 or 6 hours in one day. We all just kind of really connected, and it was sad to say goodbye after 2 nights. It was so Wilson and I started texting, and we were going to make a plan. And then, of course, like I shamelessly do, I was like, you're not. I'm not going to allow you to say no. You have to come on the podcast.
She literally was like, here are your options. For
That's
dates.
what we do. That's what we do here.
I was like, there's no version where I'm not getting to bring the genius that is you on our podcast, selfishly, and a way to see you too. But then I went to LA immediately after, and this was literally 2 or 3 nights after we had worked together. And I go to this event in LA for the new Wicked movie. I took my daughter, and it was a concert. And who am I sitting next to? Winnie Holtzman. And the first thing I said, and who I'd met before, she's knew Ben's parents. She and Paul, her husband, knew Ben's parents over the years, and Ben. And so I knew her, but I couldn't believe in a giant theater, we were seated next to each other, and I could turn to her and just say, guess who I just worked with? Wilson. And she just, her eyes welled up with tears. I mean, she was teary to begin with because of the night that she was about to experience, of her, what she created. Winnie Holtzman, David, by the way, wrote the book of Wicked.
Oh my God.
The music, the original Broadway musical, and then helped with the movies. And she created that whole world. But we got to talk about Wilson, and then I texted you. And what did you say? She's
my fairy godmother, but I'm the fairy.
I loved it so much.
She is. She's
there are people that come into your lives that...
Well, it's not even just people who come into your lives. It's people who see you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And see you and want to know more about you. And in 1994, 93, when, the whole world is telling you you're lucky just to, get an audition, for someone to say him,
Yeah, he's gonna star in my TV show, and he's gonna be a part of the so like you said, the fabric of this show. And what an impact that show made.
But she because of that, so that was the impetus, that she set it all off. She was she hit the first domino.
Yeah.
Right.
And was it just
19 episodes? It wasn't even 2 seasons. I mean, I guess that would be considered 2 seasons today, but it's not. It was 19 episodes. And then MTV picked it up after we were canceled. And it was the first time that they were going to air, because they still aired things then, something that wasn't music, and then wasn't news. And so they had it on a loop for
I remember that
2 years, where you just turn on MTV and it was like My So-Called Life. And then it was on Nickelodeon. I mean, it was on everything. It's never been unavailable.
Right.
Even before the streamers, it was always available somewhere.
Well, and that's, I think, why it made such an impact, because there were so many shows in the 90s that were long-running series that, of course, we all know and love, but My So-Called Life is always in the conversation. And to have only done 19 episodes, but have it be, like you said,
it's so impactful.
Impactful, but also reaching the masses. Because, by the way, the people who weren't watching it on prime time, when it was on, certainly caught it on MTV, that age group, who were obsessively watching MTV in the 90s. That's all we did.
Yeah.
And so for it to have sort of cast such a wide net, and I mean, I'm sure that has been like, we all have those jobs where, you do this job and then it sort of follows you. I've certainly got mine.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, and I'm happy. I'm fine with that. I'm totally happy with it. I'm proud of that. There are other gigs, Angel and Rent has followed me around, which you brought up and I didn't answer your question, which was like, it was like living out of a dream. Like, when I was in all of those choir and theater classes, all I ever thought to reach for was the stage. And so to be on Broadway in that role specifically, in that show, also felt unreal. And
wait, and did you originate in the LA?
I was the
production?
original Angel in Los Angeles, and
okay,
then
so you were in the Neil Patrick Harris company.
It was me and Neil. Yeah, it was me and Neil.
Wow.
Because at the time, and this was post Doogie Howser. It was before Neil had his renaissance, which we'll call it that, right? He was
This was the beginning. This was the beginning of it.
Oh my God. And we were hanging out, we were spending time, and he said to me and a friend, we were all spending time like right around, and he goes, and he loved musicals so much and was just like dying to do this. And a friend of mine, and he's like, listen, I'm auditioning for Rent out here. And let's go thrift shopping to find me like clothes to audition with. And we went shopping
It's so Neil.
for his audition. And we were so obsessed with him. And it was like, and I went to see it. And I went to see it in La Jolla. Was it La Jolla?
Yeah,
I saw. Went to see it. And I mean, so of course I saw you. That's why I feel like I knew you.
Did we not meet there? That's crazy. That's crazy.
Maybe we did. Maybe, I don't know. It was like, there were a lot of you.
Sounds like it's almost 30 years ago.
It's crazy. But what a transformative role. I mean, to me, that musical, when I saw that musical, that changed everything. I mean, as a musical theater lover and somebody, I'd never seen something like that.
It was not like anything I'd ever seen.
Yeah, same. And that's why I wanted to be a part of it so much. And it wasn't easy for Neil and I. It was actually harder for us to get in that show.
Tell us about it.
Because we had TV credits.
Right.
Because, the show, the original cast was, literally from off-Broadway. Nobody knew who any of them were.
Or bands, right? Like Adam Pascal was like in a band, and right? Like everybody was just sort of like, this was their first big thing, yes?
Right. And so when they started to cast the touring companies, the director and, the production just decided, and the casting director, it was like, we want to continue this effort to find new talent and make sure that it's raw talent. And so I tried to get in. They wouldn't let me in. I went into a casting call, and they still said no the first time, because I auditioned I auditioned for the first national tour, which opened in Boston.
Okay,
and they said no. So I was like, okay. So that happened. Then they said they were doing an LA tour, and I flew my ass to New York, and I finally got in, and so. I got in there, and I made my presence known.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Did you feel like like the way you went into My So-Called Life?
No.
Did you feel like you were like, I know I can get this if they see me?
Oh, I felt like I know I can do this. If I get this, I know that I can do this. I didn't feel like I was going to get it, because I felt like they were really adamant about not casting that way.
Well, were your vocal skills like strong? Did you work with a coach? Like, how did you prepare for that audition?
I was prepared. Yeah. I mean, I worked with a vocal coach. I take vocal lessons from a vocal teacher still.
Yes.
But yeah, I was ready.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was ready.
And then you did it, and then it went to Broadway. You did it in New York as well.
So yes, we opened in La Jolla. That cast moved to the Amundsen Theater in Los Angeles.
Wow.
And funny story. 2 weeks into, or maybe a month into my run in Los Angeles, I got offered a guest star role on Ally McBeal to play a transgender prostitute. And so I did it. And I would literally wake up at 5 a.m. and they'd pick me up and they'd take me to set, and I would get in my high heels and my wig and the whole thing and play that character until, and it was in my contract, I'd have to be done at 6 o'clock so that I could get out of those heels and out of that wig and out of that dress, have a car waiting for me at Universal, and take me downtown to the Amundsen Theater, and then put that wig and
those heels
and do the show. And I did that for 2 weeks. And then actually, you know what? That's a lie. It was in December. It was in October. It was in October. So I was 2 months into my run, and I was on the set of Ally McBeal in the makeup chair when I got the phone call from my agent saying that they wanted to move me to the Broadway cast in New York because they were moving the New York cast to London, and they were looking to replace those characters. And so they offered me the first replacement. And Jane Krakowski was sitting in the makeup chair next to me, the Jane Krakowski.
Yes.
And who was amazing, who I love so much. And she was like, "That is fantastic. I'm so excited for you. Congratulations. Do you need a place to live? Because my apartment is empty."
Stop.
Oh, wow. Dude,
and so I lived in her apartment for the first 6 months of my run on Broadway.
What a magical time in your life. I mean, it sounds absolutely exhausting.
Holy moly.
I mean, those few weeks, but what an amazing time.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Wow.
And then when you moved back to New York, was that when you stayed? Did you end up staying, or did you move back to LA?
Because I went to New York. I did the show. I made a movie in the middle of the run. I came back to the show because they put all those months at the end of my contract. And then I went back to LA, and I did the last season of Party of Five.
And also great writers on that show.
Oh.
Great writers. I was at, do you remember the restaurant Basics on Santa Monica Boulevard?
Of course.
So I had come home.
And Merrick's, the Tex-Mex place was
right next
to
to
Merrick's, yes. Taco Tuesday.
I love it.
Years later, I ended up living in an apartment building that was adjacent to the parking lot of those two places, like right there on Sweetser.
Those were like
and I lived
the
there
best.
Great area.
for 7 years. I was like the height of my party days. Anyway,
Totally.
So I'm at Basics after I've come back home from New York, and I'm looking for a job. And apparently the writers of Party of Five were at the restaurant, and they were like, "Hey," so I went over and said hello. And they were like, "What are you doing in town? We thought you were doing Rent New York." I was like, "I just finished. I just came back." And they were like, "Oh, nice." And I went back to my table. And then I got home. I'm not kidding you. This is crazy. They were like, it was the next day, not home. It was the next day. They said, "Were you at Basics yesterday?" I was like, "Yeah." They said, "Well, you got an offer to be on Party of Five for the final season."
Oh my God.
Okay.
And I was like okay, I'll do that. It was crazy. Nothing happens like that anymore, though.
Nothing really happened like that back then either, but it was happening to you, which is incredible.
Crazy. It was nice.
Yeah, wow. I wonder if they had if seeing you made them think of a storyline. know?
I think they were thinking of a character that they wanted to add, and they thought, oh, that's be good for Wilson. And I think they thought I was in New York. And then when I wasn't in New York, they were like, he's back. So I think it was something like that.
I mean, talk about right place, right time. I mean, sometimes that just really works out.
Yeah.
Seriously. And what was it like going into that series, such a well-established series in its final season? Because that was another iconic show that we all knew and loved.
Yeah, and it was a show that was always talked about whenever My So-Called Life was talked about, because we came out at the same season, and we were both youth-driven shows, our dramas, and so there was, and they were almost canceled, and there was a letter campaign to save the show, and because it was Fox, which was a smaller network at the time, it actually worked. But we were on ABC, and our letter campaign didn't work. So to be on that show after I think they got 7 seasons or something like that, however many seasons. Almost every day of the time that I was on that show, I thought about, oh wow, we could have been in our 7th season.
Really?
Of My So-Called Life. But I loved working with those people. I worked a lot with Lacey Chabert, who I really enjoyed working with. I worked a lot with Scott Wolf on that show. It was a great experience for me. Yeah, I loved that show. I got to sing on that show. They did a Thanksgiving episode that I sang the prayer. It was a good part for me.
Oh, that's so terrific.
Yeah, that was a quality show.
Yeah, they were really lovely. I did the national tour of Tick Tick Boom with Christian Campbell. Christian?
Nev's brother.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I knew Nev before I knew Christian. And so Nev has been around in my life a lot too. So, but to see them at the time, not that they were ungrateful for being there or anything. This is not what I'm about to say. I think they were just like, I think we're done. I think they were like, I think this is done. I think we all need to move on. And that was another lesson that I needed to see and hear, right? Like there was something healing about hearing them being ready to walk away from something that they loved and worked hard to save. And it made me imagine that, maybe there would be a time when, if My So-Called Life had been renewed, that I would have, felt that way about it. So
totally.
I don't know. There was some, I got to kind of walk in their shoes, sort of.
Yes.
And learn some of those lessons with them. And I kind of recategorized that experience for myself.
Wait, I got to ask, because we didn't talk about this. Why did they cancel My So-Called Life? It made such a huge splash. How could it only go 1 season?
Well, there are multiple answers. And the first and foremost is that contextually, in 1994, an 8 share was not enough of your ratings.
Okay.
Today, that would be the biggest hit on television. You would beg for that number. But at the time, it put us at the bottom of the Nielsen ratings. There was a letter writing campaign, because there was no internet at the time, that actually was really effective. But by the time it was effective and the network took it seriously, Claire had made a feature film called Little Women. And she worked really, really hard. Like, she was 15 years old and she was in almost every scene of that series. And that's not easy. And what she was being asked to experience on the show through the character sometimes wasn't even something she had experienced as a person yet.
As a human, right. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So after many, many years of answering this question, it ended because it was time. And as much as I would have loved to have continued to do the show, I have come to a point now where I see it for the perfect piece of art that it is. And, there are all these limited series now. We used to have them come from overseas all the time. Maybe this was I have categorized it as a limited series in my head.
Yes. Yeah. It's so true.
Right.
And by the way, it really did jumpstart the careers of all of you. I mean, it was a limit, it was sort of a showcase in something so special that launched all of you in huge ways and gave you huge opportunities and visibility. And, you were a household name. I mean, that's just the fact.
Yeah, but there are a few shows in the 90s that I feel like maybe because there wasn't social media or internet, that the networks just didn't understand how powerful the impact. I think of My So-Called Life. I think of Freaks and Geeks. I think of the Ben Stiller Show, right? Which won the Emmy after it had been canceled.
That was also not, they didn't get that either. And that was canceled after, right?
But I think one of the things you're getting at is very true, which is they didn't know how to market the show. The ABC didn't know how to market a teen drama on prime time that wasn't about, pool parties and, Brenda and whatever his name was.
Right.
Anyway, but and God bless Shannon Doherty, but God rest her soul. I think about her often. But
it was the antithesis to
they didn't know how to market that show. And the proof of that is that when it moved to MTV, they did know how to market the show. And it skyrocketed. And it became a cultural touchstone because of the fact that MTV knew how to market that show and how to sell it and how to get eyes on it.
Yes.
And MTV's audience were the exact kids that were the ones that they were that 8 share on ABC.
Absolutely.
Right. So, I mean, we were the first, right? And so I guess we had to go through all of those pitfalls and everything for them to figure it out now. And now, I feel like I have to apologize to America for the inundation of teens on your television. Because now they're everywhere.
Yeah. Right. Started a movement.
It's euphoria.
Oh my God.
Oh boy. Oh.
That's right. My So-Called Life, on steroids.
Totally. Which, by the way, I also enjoy.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Christine, have you watched Euphoria?
It's not for me, guys.
As a mother of teenagers or whatever.
I don't know if you would be watching it.
Now, were you a Star Trek fan of any of the shows? Were you because I will say, I think we've talked about this. I know we've had Ben on this show and I'm sure he talked about it, but my husband is literally the biggest Star Trek nerd. I mean, from the original series, but he has been dabbling and he checks anytime we're on Paramount Plus, he'll look at he'll look at some behind the scenes. He loves the production design. He loves the characters.
Yeah.
He loves everything Star Trek. But was the OG, William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, and to the point where he purchased actual, items from those are his babies. He has a Captain
collection.
Kirk tunic. And there are things that, God love him. I don't quite get the allure. I do enjoy watching Star Trek with him.
Man. It's his childhood, man.
I know it is. It's so, but it is. And so, the way that show, I think you talked about the, set designer and the integrity of what they've done in the Star Trek world and from the individualized series and the different characters, I feel has so honored, that original show. And so tell us a little bit about your experience with Star Trek, or did you go back and start cramming? when you got the part?
Well, I was a fan. I was a fan of the Next Gen. So like, the Captain Picard and,
Yes, of course.
Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart. And so that was my entryway. And so like Dr. Crusher, Beverly Crusher was my entry into Star Trek. And so when I watched that, then I started watching the older stuff. Like I knew of the older stuff, obviously, but I didn't really watch it. And then I went back and watched it. And then when I got the gig, obviously, because our show starts as a prequel to the original series. So I did need to go back, and I didn't have to, but I just wanted to go back and watch a bunch of them.
Talk about sets, the difference in sets from back then.
Right. And we were supposed to be a prequel. So that was, here's the other thing. The thing about the fandom too. I mean, the thing about Star Trek is the fandom, right? So, even before we got on the air, even before we started streaming, we were on set and we were hearing about get ready.
Oh my God.
And like the Next Gen people were telling us, they were like, we may be loved and revered now, but when we first came on the air, everybody hated us. All of the Trek fans hated us because we weren't the original, because it was too different. And our show was even more different. So like they lost their minds. And because our crew looked even more diverse than most Star Trek crews, they lost their minds. So it was an amazing experience. It was I have the deepest reverence for sci-fi actors than I did before I did this show, because the need for the actor to have a capacity to imagine circumstances for themselves is out of this world. We had better technology, right? Like we used this AR wall that was like, 260 degrees, right? Of LED screen that can create an atmosphere and like that. But before that, before we used that, you had to like make believe this tennis ball was, the head of an alien or so, you know what I mean? Or whatever.
Right. Oh, wow.
Yes. But like the way you use your imagination when you're telling a sci-fi story is very different than when you're doing.
Right. You got to tap into your inner child, probably.
Right.
Things
you have to create an entirely new way of imagining the world.
Yeah.
The universe.
Very different than sense memory work. Very different than, actual practical experience.
There is a being in front of you that has a head this big with tentacles coming out of it. Right. And you are now having a conversation with it about saving the world.
Right.
And you're very serious. Right. Okay.
Yeah. No method acting is going to work with that.
Anyway, it's the circumstances that you're dying in. Your imagination is on overdrive. So
sounds like fun though. Really,
it is fun. It is fun. It is fun. I get to die. I get to die and come back to life.
Oh wow!
And that was how many years for you?
5 seasons over 7 years. Oh I have been inhabited by another being. Okay.
And you're here telling the tale. You're living to tell the tale.
Those are not opportunities you get when you're on Party of Five.
No.
Right.
Very, very true. Not on ER, that's for sure.
No. It was a lot of fun. And I love those people. And I got, Anthony Rapp and I did Rent together, and we play partners on Star Trek. So, 5 seasons of working with my friend. I mean,
I know.
Amazing.
Dream gig.
What was your makeup like? I'm just curious. Was it a whole process?
I was a beautiful human man.
Yeah, you were a doctor, right? A doctor?
Yeah.
A doctor, right. We have it here.
I was the doctor of the shit. And the first season of the show, when they offered me the role, I get on the phone with the showrunner, with Aaron and Gretchen, and they're like, we can't wait to work with you. You have the best uniform in the entire show. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited about what the uniform is. And I was like, well, tell me, describe it. And he said, well, first of all, it's completely white spandex.
Oh, yeah.
That is any actor's worst nightmare, I think.
And I thought, and I'm literally on the phone with him, and I was like, oh, that sounds great. Gym membership.
Gym membership.
I was going to say, that's why you're in such good shape.
Personal
trainer. Costs.
It's just the motivation you needed.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I ended up loving it. I did end up loving it.
I have to say, when we were doing this is going back to the 90s, so it would have been the Next Generation, which was shooting on the Paramount lot. When we were shooting the Brady Bunch movie, I remember we would have these call times like 5 a.m. or something, but you'd pull into the lot. All of the Star Trek parking lot was already filled by 5 a.m. because they're there for like 3 a.m. for makeup calls. And then we would wrap at 6 at night or 7 at night. Their cars would all still be there. And then just wandering around the lot, it was like magical because you just see like an alien wandering around going to the commissary.
Right. And you really feel like you're in Hollywood when you see like a Klingon in the commissary.
It was the coolest. And I remember, yes.
My favorites are when it's like between setups, and we walk off the outside into the parking lot with the studio, and you're just like seeing people hanging on the trailer, tentacles, eyes that bug out to here, maybe like 4 arms, and just like
cigarette. Yeah.
And I'm like, and they're talking to this other person who looks like, a fish, or whatever.
Right.
And it's just like, this is normal.
So good. It is
this
so
is Hollywood.
Good. Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like we have kept you I told you it would be easy and painless, and I would take only an hour of your time. And
painless.
So,
this was fun.
This was like, we could talk to you forever. By the way, there were so many other things here, but I feel like this was just
awesome.
Part
2. We'll
do a part 2. We do. Believe me. Don't offer yourself so quickly, because we will take you up on it.
And
did Ben tell you that I called him Mr. Stiller?
No, but you told me that you went up and just hugged him, and you felt like you just went in for the hug. And I was like, of course you should go in for the hug. And then you could see that he was sort of like, oh, we're doing the hug. Okay.
I did. I went in and I was like, thank you. And I didn't know if I could call him Ben, so I was like, Mr. Stiller.
Well, that's just ridiculous. That is absurd.
It's sweet. It's respectful.
Very sweet. But I'm sure he was like, I know. He called me Ben.
He did.
But yeah, I feel like by the truly, it was sort of like, I felt like that with your man. I was like, give me a hug. I felt like by the time we all got to meet each other's family,
if you can get up there, it's worth it.
Such a sweetheart.
Yeah, really. And what a handsome dude.
I know. He's so strapping, isn't he? Like
he's in insane shape.
Great shape. He is literally like it, because I knew when I signed on to do this reading, I knew who some of the actors, like I knew their names, and I saw his name and I was like, oh, I can't wait to meet him because I've watched him over the years. And then we, then the person that you imagine and I'm like still seeing him, but he's he has such a presence, and he was so good in this reading. He's such a good actor, and I don't know, just a really great man. I just loved him.
Yeah,
I really loved him and connected with him deeply, and so I was so happy that he could come on. Talk to us.
Yeah, me too. I could have talked much longer about Rent, and then Tick, Tick, Boom. We never talked about that.
I know he dropped that, and then we ended up talking about Star Trek. But I know he's just. It was actually really cool too, because the guy who was playing Stan in the show is a guy named Seth Rudetsky, who is big in the musical theater world here. He's an accompanist. He has cabaret shows. He has his own Sirius radio show. He's a real musical theater guy. And when he saw Wilson, he's like, okay, when are you coming back to Broadway? And Wilson was like, as soon as they've got a part for me, I'm in. Like, sign me up. And then Wilson said something about, I can't remember what show it was. He's like, I'm kind of circling this one show. And then Seth, who's like a music savant, said, well, isn't that a little low for you? Wouldn't you need that in an A flat or something? And like they both started talking about music in a way that he's like, absolutely. Yeah, they'd have to raise the key for me. It was just so cool because I was like living my musical theater fantasy. But thanks for listening, everyone. It was a great having Wilson on. And
I love that. Thanks.
Follow us at Hey Dude, the 90s Called. Watch us on YouTube and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And as David always says, share it with anyone who you think might want to take a trip down memory lane with us.
See you next week.
Bye, everyone.